Hi, welcome to my channel where we provide an alternative view to the common narrative. Before I start, it seems to me I'm lacking something, and that is actually mentioning the date of these videos. As you know, in South Africa we have lots of load shedding or blackouts, and sometimes I have to make 2 or 3 or 4 videos a day and then spread it over the week. So starting from today is Sunday, the 30th of April. And this is going to be my first video. Well, I've barely talked about North Korea, and then we have news and new developments in that region. And this is what I'm going to discuss today. So if you are interested, please continue watching. Hi, welcome back to the channel where we provide an alternative view to the common narrative. Last week, or I believe it was actually published 2 days ago, I talked about the Korean or North Korean, South Korean conflict and the interference that America has on that peninsula. And that that everybody's trying to forget about this or ignores it, but that's actually a much higher flashpoint than Taiwan itself. So I talked about this, and then a week later, after I've made the video, there's some new evidence or new developments, and which is like supporting my narrative, and I believe that's a very dangerous type of escalation. The South Korean president has went to America and visit or talk to Biden, and then there was a press release, and in the press release, America stated that they will send nuclear-armed submarines to South America on a regular basis. And I'm stressing the point, nuclear armed. That means that the submarines have nuclear missiles on board, and they can fire anytime at North Korea. Now, if that is not an escalation of the situation, then I don't know what it will be. In any case, the question is really why. I don't understand. Why do South Korea and America have this attitude? And the only conclusion I can come up from the American side is they have no other way of doing it. They are the bully in the world. They are the person that tries to do everything with force, especially in the last 20 years and so on, or 30 years after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And then it seems to me that's the only type of, call it diplomacy, that they can do. Threatening. Because there's nothing else that they can offer. They don't have a carrot anymore. They don't offer any carrot. None of these events, like in Europe or any other country that America wants to bring to their side, is offered a carrot. It's only threats on threats on threats on threats. And I don't understand why these leaders of these countries allow that. And the question is really, if you know that, then please leave a comment and educate us, because I can't understand it. But what I do had, I watched the video of Judge Napolitano, yeah, and Alistair Crook. And it's not about the contents of the video, it's not that important. But what Alistair actually said is, he asked the questions, do you know how many military bases are there in Italy? And he stated 100. And I thought to myself, whoa, 100 in Italy alone. And naturally, as I usually do, I started to Google, see if it verify, see if it's true, because I couldn't believe it. And I Googled and I Googled and I Googled and I couldn't find anything. The information I always got is they have about, I think, 5 or 6 bases in Italy. No, three or four bases in Italy. And that's the number that you get. But I thought to myself, if Alistair has mentioned it on a video in a conversation, it must be true. So I use Yandex, I use Yahoo, I use Duck and Go. I tried everything, and I can't remember now how I find it at the end of the day, but I did find it at the day that information. Italy does have more or less 100. I even downloaded the book about military bases, and I scanned through it to find out if there's the numbers correct. No, they're all like 4 or 5 in Italy. And but then I found this website, and they said no, it's 100, and they can show you pinpoint every situation, every base on Italy. The problem is usually that American bases are counted on so-called bases, which means there are a lot of soldiers. There are maybe more than 100 persons or 200 persons or 500 persons, soldiers on site. There are buildings, there's the helicopters, maybe aircraft or navy or mechanized or whatever, but there's a fair number of soldiers on that specific site with all the infrastructure, all the American infrastructure, American housing, American schools, McDonald's, KFC, and all that goes with it. And those are usually called bases. And yes, of those bases, there are about, say, 4 or 5 in Italy. But that's not an American base. American bases are much more than that. If there are listening posts or radar stations, those are manned by American soldiers and personnel. And they are a footprint on foreign soil. And you have to count that, because they are part of a foreign country's military. It's not a business that's located there, it's a military installation. And it is a target for any foreign adversary that might be there. So it is a military base. And if you count those, then there are more than 100 of these installations in Italy. So then you don't let yourself be fooled that the Americans have only 700 or 800 bases in the world. They have a hell of a lot more than that. And each one of them have to be maintained financially and material-wise. So now it confirms me, actually, that Alice's group was telling the truth. And then I'm referring to another statement that he actually made. And he said that there was a base in Sicily, and there were helicopters coming and going and so on, and military activity, and naturally that created problems for the farmers and destruction of their crops and stuff like that, and etc. and etc. So the farmers in Sicily became upset about this whole story, and they went to the American embassy and put a claim in for damages. And then Alistair Cook said that he saw the letter, which I unfortunately can't find. So I'm not sure if it's published or not. That the US embassy sent to these farmers and told them, listen here, this is you are under military occupied administration, and therefore you have no claim against any damage caused by the US military. Which actually means that America still controls Italy as an military administrator, as a conqueror from the Second World War. Which means that there is no peace agreements between Italy and America, because America cannot claim occupation administration unless it has not declared peace. Now, if this is true, then you can understand, and I've talked many times about that, about Germany. And if this is true, then you can understand why the South Koreans are like that. And I've stated before that South Korean military command does not even have full control over the South Korean military. Those militaries are subject to the American command in South Korea. So that's a clear indication that South Korea has no sovereignty and are still controlled by the Americans. And that is a very dangerous situation. And now you can look at other hotspots, and you talk about Japan. Japan is full of American military bases. Okinawa is one of the largest ones that are in that there. And whatever the Japanese do, they can't get rid of them, the American troops. And what the Japanese do is now they have changed their constitution in order to become more, have the capability of being offensive operations in order to protect their neighbors, whatever that means. Bullshit. It means America still controls Japan, whether they like it or not, after the Second World War. And they dictate their foreign policy. And if not, even more. So the question is really, what the hell is going on? It doesn't seem to me that the world is as it is, well, as it looks like. And it doesn't seem to me that it seems to me that there are a lot of countries that do not have sovereignty. And if you really start digging into this matter, then you will find that evidence. But don't try Google, because Google won't show you that. And I mean, I've searched pages, 30, 40 pages going down Google results. Nothing. In fact, you know, what's his name? Johnson. God, I'm bad with him. In any case, you can, oh, come on, man, the CIA thing is, I'm talking, always talk about him sometimes. Well, he's in any case an old CIA, God, I get flipping frustrated with this. But in any case, so if you look up Johnson, you try to find his website, you cannot find it. Because the first thing Google gives you is Johnson, the sportsman, the basketball player, or whatever. And it's page on page on page of that sportsman Johnson. But you don't get the other one. So forget about Google if you want to find alternative news. You got to find a different search engine. Because it doesn't provide you any of the information. And I've searched for a lot of stuff, for other stuff as well, which I can't find. In any case, coming back to North Korea, the question is really why is America sending nuclear weapons? You know, if there is an outbreak of war, whatever format it takes, North Korea has nuclear bombs. It has ICBMs. And the ICBMs are capable of hitting American soil. And the Americans know it. And, you know, and the question is, the only question you have to ask yourself is, how many does North Korea have? And if they fire all of them, how many of the Americans think they can shoot down these ballistic missiles? Because what will happen? What will happen if, say, North Korea successfully fires several nuclear ICBMs, and only one gets, say they fired 10, and only one gets through, and it is in the center of New York City, or Los Angeles, or any other big, Seattle, any other big city. How many people are staying there, living there? A couple of millions. That means the death toll will be a couple of million American citizens. Only one. Now, naturally, the America will retaliate and they will probably destroy North Korea. But on the other side is South Korea is within, I think, 40 kilometers of the demarcation lines. And the artillery of the North Koreans can reach Seoul. And if you have ever seen any videos or photographs of that, you can see it's a highly densely populated city. So it doesn't matter if there's a confrontation between North and South Korea and the USA, whatever, millions of people will die. And not only South Koreans, Americans as well. Even if they shoot down some of these ICBMs, the radioactive contamination of that explosion of that missile will be significantly, and there will be lots of after effects. I mean, the plutonium doesn't go away, it stays there, and if you explode it, then, well, you might even trigger an atomic reaction in the atmosphere and then contaminate a large part of America itself. But it doesn't matter how you look at it. Millions of people will die. And it seems to me that the Americans' leadership, with their gung-ho type of idiocy of thought and the bravado, doesn't care about these million people. Well, you can maybe argue, yeah, it's only going to be the South Americans, South Koreans. Oh, yeah, don't worry, they are not Americans. No. It will be the first time that Americans will experience war on their own turf, or at least the effects of that. And once America starts to use atomic weapons, it doesn't matter if North Korea has started the war. That will be a red line that cannot be retreated from. And nobody knows what this effect will have on Russia or China. How will they react? Because if the Americans use nuclear bombs, how will China react? How will Russia react? Nobody knows. Do the Russians and China consider North Korea as part of their partners, as they call it, friendships? Well, yes, they support them. And if the Americans start the whole thing, then they will support North Korea as well. And what then? Then it's not only one city. Then there will be multiple cities in America coming under fire. Or the possibility. Now, who the hell wants to take a chance like that? It's like animals. They try to show their strength or their size in order to intimidate a counter opponent of the same sex, say during mating periods or tribes or whatever you like, the lions and so on. It's fine if it stays like that, but if it starts to get into a violent mode, which you never can underestimate it, which if you listen to the leadership of North Korea, they talk the same way as the Russians talk. There is no bluff. What they say is what they're going to do. What they say is what they believe. They don't tell lies. They give you fair warning. And put yourself in the shoes of the North Koreans. If you have constant military exercises on your borders by a powerful enemy, and this guy is practicing how to invade you, or how to take out your nuclear installations, or how to nuke you with atomic bombs in any case, how do you think you will feel? Well, they will think existential. and they will accept it as existential. And therefore they will go all the way. That means they're not going to think, oh shit, how many of my people will die? No. They will think, how many of your people can I kill? Maximum. In terms of forms of revenge. I believe that's how those people think. But it doesn't seem to me that the South Koreans or the US think so. But South Korea is not really a factor. They are not in command. It's Americans that are in command. You know, when I think it was during Donald Trump's presidency, the president of South Korea was a lot more amicable, if that's the right English word, and he wanted to have peace with North, because at the end of the day, what the hell is wrong? Why can't they make peace? Does anybody even answer that question? Why does there have to be a state of war? I'm sure that North Korea would like to combine with South Korea, or at least get peace and separate development and economic development and prosperity and all that goes, everything with it. There is no ideological real difference except for maybe communism versus capitalism, but China has changed and the Soviet Union has collapsed, so, you know, benefits of that, why not make peace? There is no real reason for not having a peace, or at least peace, but the jackpot would be to unite the two parts of Vietnam again. Because at the end of the day, there are families in both of the same family, members of the same family in both of these parts of Korea. There is no reason for a war, except that America doesn't want to make peace. America keeps the status quo. But America is not the person that are suffering. But what I can guarantee you is that in this case, America will suffer and have the consequences. I mean, we talked about this nuclear torpedo that the North Koreans have developed. Just think about Los Angeles, California. Is California not situated on a fault line, significant fault line, where you have lots of earthquakes and stuff like that? How about just bombing one single nuclear bomb onto that fault line? And imagine what will happen then. The damage will be significant more than what that bomb can ever do. Or with a torpedo, create a tsunami. And tsunami is unstoppable. And they won't be able to take that torpedo. Or UIV, or whatever you want to call it. The possibility of significant damage to America is high. And I don't understand why South Korea allows this, because there is no reason. There is really no reason for war between North and South, or the antagonistic type of view. Nothing. If you can think about that, then you made it up. Then you're dreaming. But this escalation of sending nuclear submarines, that effectively makes South Korea a nuclear-armed country, in effect. Apart from what the Americans say. Yeah, South Koreans don't have any control of their weapons. No, but they have. And they are right there and then. So again, don't forget about North Korea, South Korea. Yeah, talking always about Taiwan and so on. and etc., but no. In any case, that's my story for today. Until next time, cheers. Larry Johnson. That was the name, Larry Johnson. Google Larry Johnson, you won't find his website. You will find the sportman. Cheers.